I'm Kiwi,
And I'm Jarad.
and we are the two gentlemen coming to you with grand final fever. Jarad, how are you?
Yay. My team's there. Nice. I'm very excited. Very excited. Got a couple of days to wait, but yeah. Quite exciting about the realization that I guess our team might come away with the premiership. I'm realistic about it, but yeah, it's going to be fun.
Awesome. It's such an exciting time being in the grand final. Just that possibility. It's like being a teenager. It's before your dreams are crushed. All this potentiality right there, and you can fantasize about all the plays, and let's hope it works out.
Yeah, I know. I've played a lot of sport, so I understand sport pretty well, and I kind of know what my team has to do to win, and it has to be a very good game. They have to play well, as their opposition is incredible, and they are the underdogs. But I'm quietly excited for that way. I'm not going out and we're painting my house the color of my team. But there are some people doing that, so good luck to them. But I'll just be a little bit more quieter on my. I'll celebrate harder, maybe. I don't know.
And for those of you listening who are wondering what we're talking about, in case you don't follow the sport of rugby league, it's the Penrith Panthers, who have been the dominant team for the past 3 years, against the Parramatta Eels, who haven't won a premiership since 1986. So it's a long time.
I was 6.
Exactly.
I was 6, and I remember it briefly, and I remember for some reason I was watching it at my neighbour's house, which is weird in itself. We didn't really have those neighbours weren't really close. But anyway, at that point we were watching it at the neighbour's house. Maybe they were Parramatta fans. But I remember just not really watching it because I was 6, I was just going in and out and whatever. I didn't really understand it. But at that point I thought, man, this happens all the time. This happens all the time. This will never end. But there it was. That was the last one. So here I am at 42 going, can we please get another one? I'll watch this game. I promise.
It's funny you say that, because it did happen all the time. Parramatta made the grand final, 81, 82, 83, winning them all. Yeah. And then 86. So as a child, it would have felt like that. And it's funny, that's my first grand final memory as well, 1986. I'm a Bulldogs fan. Yeah. And I remember the score being 4-2, everything being really tense. I was a little kid living in Lakemba. Yep. And I remember Ray Price with all the blood gushing down his face. And of course, being a Bulldog supporter, I was disappointed with the result. But I thought, things would go on forever as well. The Bulldogs made the grand final in 88, a couple of years later, winning their 4th for that decade as well. So it's amazing how things change, isn't it, Jarad? And how you take things for granted and think that this is just the order of the world. And then something like World War I comes along and changes the entire world order.
Yeah. It's I think you've said it before. The world has a way of just sort of letting you know. I probably didn't quote you right there, but
close enough.
But yeah, it's easy to take things for granted, and it's easy to think that will always be there. We'll get it next time. Sometimes next time is a long way away, if ever. But
exactly.
Yeah. So how are you going, mate? There's been some news. We've actually had a break. So as hopefully people have noticed. But we've had a little break, and it was only just something we needed to do. Just like more so, just we had a few things on, and it was just we wanted to give this give the podcast full attention. So it was nothing serious. It was just have a little break and have a little bit of a refresh on my end. I'm not going to speak for Kiwi, but during that break, there was a bit of news about a particular person and someone that Kiwi looks up to, and someone that I look up to as a sports person as well. But Roger Federer was hanging up his tennis shoes and rackets. I think he's still got a few more games on, or he's just played his last one. I'm not too sure, but How are you going with that news, mate?
Devastated, Jarad. I've called in sick for the past month since the news dropped. No, but I joke, of course, but it was something that I was anticipating for a long time, the past few years. It's funny, I'm a grown man, okay? So to have that sort of dedication to another man is just kind of weird. And, after the Wimbledon 19 final where he had a double match point in the fifth set, which was incredible against one of his biggest rivals, who to me is the greatest tennis player of all time, Novak Djokovic. And for him to not win that match was really, really sad. And it took me about 2 weeks to recover from that, the disappointment, and just replaying those points in my head. It's hilarious because, it has absolutely no bearing on the world at all. This isn't Russia invading Ukraine. This is two guys hitting a fluffy ball, two multimillionaires, having fun and doing what they want in their lives. So really, it was of no consequence at all. But I guess as a sports fan, I've become invested in that sort of thing. But Federer's retirement and, of course, Serena Williams' retirement this year, they're two things that I guess I saw as big thresholds in the passing of time. So I remember watching Serena Williams win her first Grand Slam title when she was 17. I was 18, actually, going on 19. I was still at uni at the time. I still remember Federer, or hearing about Federer at the French Open. We were in high school. Yeah. So that's crazy. Sort of crazy to see how far back that relationship goes with these athletes. And, now that's over and they're still the same in your mind. They're still, Serena Williams and Roger Federer, but I'm completely different. I'm not a school kid anymore. I'm a parent. But yeah, it's one of those things that really showed how much time has passed. And the other thing I was thinking about in terms of anticipating the end of it is when The Simpsons finally comes off air. So I've been watching The Simpsons since we were in year 5. I remember it debuting on, I think, Channel 10, like the day before we went to school in year 5, the day before term 1. So I've always thought when that day comes, when they announce that The Simpsons is finally ending, it'll be devastating to me. So Federer's retirement and The Simpsons are these two big childhood things that once they go, I think I'm officially an old man.
Yeah, that might be it. So you're halfway there by the sound. I mean, look, and again, I probably took Federer for granted. Like I watched him and I really enjoyed him playing, but I can't say that I, got up every match and watched everything, but he was phenomenal, like he was a generational player. We've been blessed with generational players in this generation. Like, you look at who we've got now in that regard, and that's, it's a blessing. But The Simpsons. I mean, I haven't watched The Simpsons for a long time, but I'd be devastated too. Like, I think it's you're right. It's more of a realization that we're at that level now. And I remember my dad saying to me, like, as I was watching football growing up, rugby league as I was growing up, and he would always talk about older players, how good they were, and I couldn't get a full grasp on it because I was there watching the current players, and I'm going, well, is he better than Brett Kenny, or is he better than, then as I got older, is he better than Brad Fittler? Is he better than Laurie Day? But they would have been, at their time, they would have been, superstars as well. But I never seen it because I wasn't born. So it's just hard. It's a new step. Like, you've got to be there explaining this to your kids and grandkids and all that sort of stuff, to say, oh, Roger Federer was this, and Rafael Nadal was this, and I loved watching this. And I mean, I think we're a bit luckier because we've got a little bit, we can refer back to video a little bit more, and everything was taped. But it's going to be a different part of life. And trying to explain the humor of The Simpsons to kids, probably a little bit different. But it's an ending, mate. It really is. And it's something that I think, people, the generations ahead of us have had to go through. And I think that's something that we're going to have to go through soon, or if not already going through.
Definitely. Yeah. And this isn't anything sad or anything like that, but there is a natural mourning. little grieving period when these things happen.
Yeah.
And Jarad, I just want to add, I don't watch The Simpsons either. I actually can't remember the last time I had time to sit down and watch something like that. And I love it. And the amount of Simpsons references that still go through my head from episodes that we saw when we were in high school, to me, that was this golden age. So much of my humor was developed through watching The Simpsons.
Yeah.
I think for a whole bunch of us.
Oh, and, totally.
It's coming to an end.
Yeah, I agree. And even The Simpsons have generational, because I know, like you said, the whole bunch of us would watch Simpsons, and our humor was based on that. I'll finish a game of basketball, for example, and I'm playing with guys that are our age. And after the game, we might have a chat, and then all of a sudden you go through like a 5-minute Simpsons reference, but it's all from that sort of 98, 2000 era. I don't know, something like that. But it's like, man, there's 22 more years of Simpsons that we're not quoting. I think we put ourselves. People can tell our age by the Simpsons we quote. But yeah. I suppose you watched it a little bit more in depth back then. I mean, yeah, The Simpsons for me too was a bit of a hangover cure. It helped me get through big nights before, because you'd turn on The Simpsons and you'd watch 3 hours, because it used to be on Saturdays and Sundays from 8 till 12 or 9 till 12.
That's right.
Or pay TV, and I'd just turn that and veg out on the couch for 3 hours. Yeah, by the end of that, you started to feel a bit better. That was when I was younger, but now I'd need 4 days of The Simpsons to feel better after drinking. But that's part of the deal.
I guess what I want to focus on now in my life is new beginnings. And that's all about our children, isn't it? I feel like all my memories now, especially since I've had kids, are all centered around the children. I don't really think about anything else. I think about all our special times and all my epic holidays. They're like tiny little trips up the coast or whatever. They're not, the trip I did to Egypt when I was young, or when I went to Europe. It's, remember we went up the coast and we had a little surf. Or, when I think about the best day of my life, I actually look at this day this year. And we went up to Elizabeth Beach, and that holiday, it just rained all the time. It's been raining all year, basically, here in New South Wales in Australia. And we had we had 2 days of absolute sunshine, not a cloud in the sky. And we were at the beach both those days. And on the second of those days, my boys caught their first waves independently with me on a surfboard. So... But the first of those days, I remember just reflecting on that. At the time, I was like, this is the best day of my life. Yeah. This has been incredible. It saddens me that things are coming to an end. I feel like I really need to focus on these new beginnings.
You hit a chord there with me as you were speaking, and I wholeheartedly agree that, I've been on trips too. I've been to, all over Australia. I've had my trips overseas, but I can barely remember them, and it's nothing to do with alcohol, so don't start with it. but it's like I can, if I really try, remember those trips. But at the forefront of my mind is the future and also the present. So yeah, it is a thing where it's like, oh, you know what? Will I ever get a chance to drive across Australia again? I don't know. I don't. It's not in my plan to do soon. But I've done it. But I'm not sad that that's not going to happen again, or may not happen again. What I'm happy about, like you said, I mean, we just come back from a little holiday up the coast, and it was 4 days of just perfect. Like you can't, and I was doing things like, going to the beach and swimming in a pool that's at an Airbnb house. Like there's nothing, exotic about it. Going to a local area zoo that's, a little bit, we've got good zoos in Sydney. We've got great zoos, but it wasn't about the zoo, and it was just about the experience and, just living in the now. I think all those past things that we sort of mourn for a little bit, I think that shapes us. Yeah, like that, like you said, our humor is designed around The Simpsons, and I wouldn't be where I was if I didn't play all that football I played and sport and all the friends that I made, and I wouldn't have all that. Yeah, there's so many things I'm not even going to mention, but once you get over that little bit of a mourning period, like you said, minute mourning period, you just get on with life and use that as I'm glad I saw that, or glad I experienced that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that helps with your future, I think. That helps with everything you do with your kids and your family, and where you're heading now. All those experiences.
For sure. I think it fills the heart, all of that sort of stuff. The emotional content of those moments is what's important. Anyone can go on a holiday to see this or that. Anyone can go and check out the pyramids, but to bring, I guess, the consciousness with you where you go in life and to grow from it, I think that's really special. Yeah. And I had a fantastic day yesterday with my eldest son. So I used to work casually, and I'd always keep Thursdays free, and we'd call it my son's name and Daddy Day. Yeah. So awesome. It was kind of sacred for us. So we've always planned something on that day. So yeah, I had a fantastic day with my son yesterday. We went to the city. We went to the Sydney Jewish Museum. I had the opportunity to guide him through some very significant world events, just watch him grow, just see his reaction to all these awful things, and just to be so proud that I've got this lovely empathic boy in my life. Yeah. We walked around, we caught public transport. We did so much. Now, none of this was anything out of the ordinary for most people. It's just catching some public transport and going to a local museum. But we had so much fun just being together. And I can express my feelings to people without being embarrassed at all. And, I told him, look, this will end one day. Like, we won't be doing this anymore because you're going to get a girlfriend, you're going to move out, you're going to get a job, you're going to move on. And, rather than grieve all of that, and he just cut me off and said, we should enjoy it while we've got it. And I said, exactly. So, I'm trying to not live with any regrets. And those moments, those tiny little things, like I said, it's just a trip to the city with, my son, but it was a fantastic day and I'm still buzzing from it. Yeah. It's just lovely. So I want to build more of these and just continue, I guess, letting people know how important it is to me. Like, this relationship I've got with you, Jarad, when you came back into my life, that was a huge thing. I don't have this with anyone else. I don't do podcasts with other people. I'd love to have a podcast with friends.
I'll get all diva on you if you do. No.
But this has been really special for me. And I'm so happy that one day my kids, when I'm dead, when we're both dead, our kids will have all these conversations they can look back on and go, wow, that's my daddy talking, and he's talking about me. Yeah. No, I think that's pretty cool. And it just reminded me, my day yesterday, we both had good days yesterday. But my day yesterday was a little less, I didn't go into the city or anything, but I just took the girls for a drive around the area where my team is from, and just to see all the streamers and go to the shops and just experience, the atmosphere. And I didn't pay a cent for it. I didn't have to line up for it. I didn't have to do anything. All we did was drive, park, and get out and walk. And the girls had an absolute ball, and they're actually still talking about it today. We didn't do anything. It wasn't even but I loved it. I had a great time, and I'd do it again to try and recapture that, because sometimes the best moments are just those moments that are just, if you open your eyes to the experience you're having at the time, then, that's gold. That's, looking back on these big events we went to, we've said it before, you don't have to go, but we went to, we had a look at the pyramids at Egypt or whatever. And it's well, okay, that's cool. And bucket list. But, just driving into a place where the grand final is going to be and watching the girls get around and look around and, experience that atmosphere. That was just, in my opinion, that was just gold. I can't, I'd do that again every day if I could. To our listeners, quite often I have a little chat with Jarad's daughters before we start recording. And today was probably the most animated I've seen them ever. And they were really happy because they got some Parramatta socks, a Parramatta toothbrush, and some Parramatta branded tissues.
Big spender here,
Now, they were so excited over that. And I get it. It was a great experience. It comes around, once every so often.
Yeah.
And in Parramatta's case, it hasn't been since 2009, so 13 years, and they got to enjoy that with their dad. So it's,
And they're not experienced. They're not experienced. Like I talked about how I remembered it at 6 years old. My youngest is that age, and my oldest is a couple of years above. So they don't get it in the regards of how rare it is yet. But yeah, like I think they're just happy to experience it, like you said, with their dad. And I think the energy that I put out of not the energy, let's just say the energy that I put out of like how happy I was to be doing what I was doing, just driving around and walking around the area, would have rubbed off on them, so subconsciously I'm giving them, good vibes and pick up on that, and they're doing the same to me. So, I'm happy they're excited about it. I feel a bit cheap by just getting them a pair of socks, but whatever. It is what it is.
Look, they're ready for next winter, Jarad. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. You're right. It's the we're both right. The experience of now, and we don't mourn that sort of behind what's left behind.
Yeah. And I just want to share some other really nice experiences I've had. I've been to 2 grand finals. One was in 2002, and that was with my brother, our legendary friend who's a listener of this show, and another of our great friends too. Yeah. And I still remember the picture we took that day. Like I don't even know if I have the picture, but I still remember looking at the picture that we took that day. Right. And this was a long time ago, and it was one of those things I'll cherish.
Yeah.
And then I went to the grand final in 2014 when the Bulldogs made it, and a Para fan actually gave us the tickets because Para didn't make the grand final that year, of course.
Yeah.
And I went with just my brother, and to me, that was a really special moment. I don't really think about the game. I think about being with my brother.
Yeah.
And that was really nice as adults, because we weren't that close, in our early 20s, but, by that age, we became really close again. So it's a really nice feeling. And that's something I'll definitely take with me to the grave.
It's amazing how these events that happen can, like you said, you didn't remember the game. Like, it's amazing how the event of that grand final or that, whatever it might be, brings together the connection. The reason why I drove around the area yesterday. It was the reason why you went and sat in seats next to each other was to watch that game. And, the reason you took that photo was because you were at that, so it's nice to know that these things give you a purpose, it gives you an excuse. I don't know if it's an excuse, but it's kind of shows me that maybe we don't need those, it's all about the connection. It's not about the event. So you're remembering the connection with your brother and all that sort of stuff. And for me, that's, I don't know, maybe we should do that more without the event. We don't need the event. That's what I'm realizing right now. I'm trying to say it, but yeah, it's nice that these events do that, but it's also be also nice to be able to do that without the events. I don't know, just a thought.
Well, in the wise words of Jarad Weston, be human, and being human is all about connection. And this episode started because I'd talked to you off air about my sadness with Roger Federer retiring and how I was anticipating the end of The Simpsons, even though I don't watch it anymore. But it did get me thinking about new beginnings. And childhood is such a special thing. It really is. And I think the longer kids are children, the better.
Yeah.
And it's really sweet how innocent they can be. I think of, my childhood with my brother and sister, and I reflect on so many cool moments, and, they can still come back. Those moments can happen again. We do them differently now. So my sister was up here from Victoria last week, and we had such a great time. She spent pretty much all Friday at my place with my brother. We live in a 2-bedroom apartment, by the way, everybody. So, we're not living it up or anything. We're just this little family enjoying each other's company. And we got all this really nice food. We had this big spread, and one of my brother's friends came over as well. So a whole bunch of us, and my dad was there, a whole bunch of us just packed into this little apartment, and with 3 dogs as well, by the way. So we just spent basically 5, 6, maybe 7 hours just laughing.
Yeah.
It was just people just chatting, enjoying each other's company for that
Awesome.
long. And that's one of those
Yeah.
things. It was almost like a childhood memory that I had at the age of 41,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
whole new childhood experience. So it got me thinking, I've got to be open to these new experiences and these new, I suppose, new shapings as well. Obviously childhood shapes you more, you're much more malleable. Your mind is much more malleable when you're a kid than as an adult, but we can always have new beginnings. And to me, let's just say, I'd had a pretty rough life, which I haven't, but there's always a new day, isn't there? And to me, that
Yeah.
was almost like a re-establishment of childhood. That day that we had last week, it was fantastic.
It's almost like, and it is fantastic, and it's almost like, you just click straight back into that sort of like, you're able to connect straight away. Like you said, you didn't need to be, hanging around outside a pool, or, it's nice to hear. It's nice to hear you were sitting in a 2-bedroom apartment, just laughing. I haven't got many words other than I'm just happy to hear that.
Yeah. Thanks, Jarad. And I was chatting to your daughters about the holiday, and
Yeah.
they had a fantastic time. And yeah, they were talking about how they were freezing in a pool. It was,
Yeah.
and these are things that they'll take with them for life. So
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going with this other than, look, life is beautiful. It really is.
Yeah.
There are
Enjoy it.
moments everywhere that we can enjoy, and it's obviously made better through human connection. There's so many ways to connect in life, whether it's with nature, whether it's with animals, but there's nothing more special than connecting with other humans.
Yeah.
You're really lucky if you're born into a family with whom you can connect. You're really lucky if you can meet somebody that you fall in love with and that you can start a family with. But, if you don't have those things, there's always something to connect with or someone to connect with. And there's a lot of special people around. So I'm really lucky. I want to just give a shout out to someone that, our number one fan, Hannah. I told you I'd give you a shout out in our next episode. She's listened to every single episode. Can you believe that?
I don't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that. I think I've apologized already. I'm gonna meet this girl. I don't know if. Yeah, I want to make sure she's okay.
She did say hello to you, Jarad, by the way. But we connected, and the surfs that we had are so special. Like she surfs pretty much every day, but she still thinks about the times that we went out together, and that's beautiful. I still think about the times we went out together. So those things, and they happened in adulthood. So there's so much around the corner waiting to just be discovered.
There are so many opportunities to connect. I think you need to be. Some people can take connection for granted. Like, I think, people who, like myself, and like we're lucky. We're in a lucky situation. We've got a lot of good people around us, and our life is rich with human connection. And I understand that not everyone has that. But even if you are rich with human connection in that situation, I would suggest, like, don't take it for granted. Like, if something comes along and someone's, there's an opportunity to connect with somebody or some people, take that opportunity. The worst that can happen is that it just doesn't work out. So, and then you where you were anyway.
Exactly.
I think that's what I'm learning out of this one now. This episode is just, we can take anything for granted. Enjoy it while it's here, but keep your eyes open for the next, the next step or the next connection that you may make.
Your next beautiful memory is just around the corner.
Well said.
And look, I just want to say, when you're talking about the worst thing that can happen is, the connection might not work out. Connections don't have to last forever. You can remember that one person you met in an elevator who really impressed you with a good joke or whatever it was. So, people, use the opportunity, use the powers that you've got, use your natural charisma, use your gifts from nature to add to somebody's great memories. You could contribute to someone one day just lying in bed when they're, sick with cancer, and they're just reflecting on that time. Oh, I remember I met that guy. Geez, that was nice.
Yeah.
Be someone's great memory. We've got so much power. Just by being a good human being, we can really change somebody's day. We can contribute to somebody's life.
100%. And you said about a joke in an elevator. If you don't know that person and no one knows that person, you can reuse that joke later, and everyone think it's yours. So that's a bonus, and that's a bonus everywhere, really.
I wasn't quite thinking that pragmatically, Jarad, but I like it.
Yeah, no, that's what I think sometimes.
Well, you're big on recycling, Jarad, so I do like that very much.
Yeah. Be human. That's all. Be human.
Exactly. So everybody, the next great memories around the corner. I want to thank Roger Federer and the writers of The Simpsons for giving us all these great childhood memories and adulthood memories as well. Serena Williams, all the amazing moments. Ash Barty retired this year. It's, people leave legacies, and it's wonderful to see, but I suppose once we've mourned it, we need to move on and go with the future. So next great memories around the corner, and I'm going to continue building them. I hope you join us as we continue to build this wonderful show that I really enjoy doing, this beacon of positivity that I get from Jarad. So thank you, Jarad, for being so human, for encouraging me to connect with all of the people around us that have been in our past that we've got great memories with.
Not a problem. And same to you, buddy. I'm enjoying this, as I've said many, many times. And the next podcast is only around the corner. So the next memory of a podcast, I don't know how you put that, but anyway, we're back, and we are hopefully recording in the next week. So you'll hear our voices again next week.
All right. And we'll be discussing the grand final results next week, I imagine.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think of that. That morning could be that morning time, or it could be just still out partying. I don't know. Actually, I'm not going to lie. I don't party anymore. Not that I ever partied, but I don't party. I'm 42. I could have a really bad hangover. How about that?
Let's hope so. A good hangover. Thanks, Jarad.
Thanks, mate. Bye.